Hello everyone, it's Penny and welcome back to Thief Gold. We just met up with the Hammerites. We have formed probably an uneasy alliance, but we rescued their high priest and they're going to help us out in defeating the trickster. We still don't have a definite idea of what the plan is yet, but I'm sure in this next cutscene we're going to figure out what that is. We are coming up on the final mission of the game, and it's been quite a journey. During this next mission, I know that there isn't going to be a ton of stealth going on, but I'm kind of fine with that. I think it'll give me some chances to sort of speak my mind on a lot of the stuff that we've been through. But for that, let's see what the plan is.
This is it. The Hammers say they've received word that Constantine's descended into his realm to perform a ritual with the eye. The Hammers have built me a booby-trapped counterfeit eye. If I can swap it for the real thing, it should cause him some trouble. If he doesn't notice me. I've never robbed a god before. It'd be a challenge.
There we go. We're we're going into the Maw of Chaos. We're going into his realm, and we're doing the old switcheroo. We're gonna be swapping in a fake eye for the real one, and hopefully they'll put a damper on his plans. And I think there's something very funny about I've never robbed a god before, and I think that's the ultimate culmination of any story of thievery, starting from stealing from manor houses, and now we're stealing from gods. But let's get right into it. No, no. Oh, I did not say that correctly. Here we go. There is no store to purchase things from, so let's go through what we have. Sword, of course, blackjack, 30 broadhead arrows, 3 rope arrows, 3 noisemaker arrows. Okay. And then let me put my face away for a second. Let's see. We got a papyrus. Let's read it. Garrett, dost this help thee aught? Wear thee the rock of crystal, the song of doom. The heart of mortal man is weak against its siren call, and temptation beckons. As nearer thou drawest, the rock waits, until thy heart is close for a strike, and thy fate is sealed. 'Tis a fragment found in an old record warning of the Maw. Okay, so singing rocks that will hurt us somehow. Got a fake eye, got our compass, 1 flash bomb, 1 flash mine, regular mine, 1 healing potion. Let's sneak in behind those 2. Yourself a gas arrow, nice. My base back up. Hopefully it's back up now. Interesting map. Stairs, waterfall, crystals, big tree. Very interesting. Got some mantis creatures keeping guard. Some blue-looking scorpion men. Guess we have to time our jump down there. Figure out how to get past them. So, as I've said before, I've been playing this game for quite a long time. It was the take care of this idiot first before I start waxing poetic. Did anybody hear that? Okay, I think I'm good. It was the first game I ever played. I had to have been like 2 or 3 years old. Played, of course, in big air quotes. I'm sure I spent more time fruitlessly putting my fingers on the keyboard, watching the funny lights and colors and whatnot, and not really understanding what was going on. But it definitely hooked me instantly. A lot of people say that their first game was something like a Nintendo game or like like Mario or Animal Crossing or maybe something like Halo or something like that. Or they got Pokemon on the DS or something like that. But not for me. I never actually grew up with consoles. Oh, there we go. Stuttered for a second. I think my first console I ever got was a Wii in like 2007, 2008. And by then, I was... oh boy, that was close. I was already like late into elementary school. So I didn't really bond with people over a shared experience of playing, oh boy. Please go away. Thank you. I didn't really have a shared experience bonding over, playing, as I said, Zelda or ooh, creepy, or Pokemon or anything like that. But that kind of made it a little bit more special to me in a way. There's something about the uniqueness of my experience, and I'm not saying that. Ooh, Chloe. Oh, these are the dangerous rocks, I'm assuming. Ooh, ice. Oh boy. I like, obviously there is huge importance in shared human experiences. I'm not saying that if you bonded with people over, playing Pokemon or whatever, then you're just a sheep. Like, no, absolutely not. There's something beautiful about shared experiences in video games. I think that's one of the most important parts of gaming, I think. Grab that, thank you. I'm gonna try to get past these idiots. Okay. Oh boy, okay. Whoa. Slow down. Okay. Whew. Okay.
Let's not try that again.
Yeah, you and me both, Garrett. Obviously, shared experiences in video games are hugely important. They're the reason why video games proliferate. I think without shared experiences, just as humans. Oh, that was that was a mistake I was about to say, as I immediately make the same mistake twice. Jesus. Okay. Shared experiences are super important to humans. They're the reason why our species is so reliant on social activity. We are a social species. We do not function well as a society with isolated experiences. It is a sense of togetherness and community that makes it really important. So there was a little bit. Oh boy, let's not do that again. Carrot says as we do it again. So there is obviously a, a sadness, I guess, in not being able to share my experiences playing Thief when I was growing up with other people, and not being able to share the same experiences of playing other games. I would get asked, oh, what's your favorite Pokemon? What's your favorite Legend of Zelda? And like I didn't play those games. I didn't play Legend of Zelda until Twilight Princess on the Wii. I didn't play. I mean, my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Go, and then Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Like, I haven't played any of the other Pokemon games. Okay. So it was a little isolating, but there's something still kind of beautiful about the uniqueness of my experience. Obviously, it's important to have shared experiences, but I think it's also really important to have these unique feelings about games. And I think that's why it inspired me even more. The fact that it was such a unique experience to me as a child of growing up playing these games, and knowing that it was me and my older sister and my dad who would play this. And with nobody else to talk to about it, and no real communities for me to interact with. I didn't go on any internet forums or anything like that. It was giving me this intense feeling of again, uniqueness and feeling special. Like this is a once in a lifetime experience. And to this day, even when I introduce this game to my friends, I still introduce it to them in a way that I want them to experience it like I did for the first time. I try not to spoil them or give them, hot tips and tricks and, like, oh, here's how to min-max your character or whatever. I'm like, just go in blind and experience it like I did with wonder and awe. And it was such a formative game. This game was so formative for me.
Now that's big.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd have no nickels. It was such a hugely formative game, because it was such a even at the time that it was released, nothing had really attempted something like this before. I mean, stealth games were still super new. Obviously, by the time I was like conscious of my experiences as a human being, or goblin being, I guess. Let's not break the facade. Deus Ex had come out, so that was like sort of a big, introduction to stealth for a lot of people, but it was still, more action oriented. Don't get me wrong, like that game is still amazing and hugely influential again for stealth gaming experiences. And it makes sense because a lot of the creators of Thief were able to influence the production and creation of Deus Ex. So, having this sort of game like Thief that's like a granddaddy of stealth feels a lot different than more modernized takes on stealth. So even when I was very young, I knew this is different. This is different than any other game out there. This is different than Deus Ex, which was still pretty new at the time. This is different from Metal Gear. This is different from so many other games. And hearing that this game was critically well received, but didn't do great on the financial front, was kind of heartbreaking, actually. When I learned that they made Thief 1, Thief 2, had a hand in System Shock 2, and then just closed and folded. It was like, how can you make these hugely influential experiences and just close shop? So that made me hold the game even dearer to my heart, because if I was one of the few people I knew that played this game and the studio that made it had closed, then I felt like I was like some sort of like secret society member, or like some of the last people to know its knowledge and spread its word. That's obviously a very high and mighty thinking, and obviously you shouldn't view your experiences of gaming as some sort of weird, like, pseudo-religious experience of like, oh, you're launching things at me, like yes, I am the holder of the truth, I am the holder of all that is important in the gaming world. So obviously I've changed my tone from when I was a kid, when I was like, I almost felt high and mighty about the fact that I played Thief. But now I'm just more than happy to show it off to people and try to convince people to play it for themselves. Because
Interesting.
oh, very interesting, Garrett. I realized that my okay. Let's bunny hop across this. My experiences of playing Thief as a kid, I try to open up to other people about it and tell other people about the game. But I was a very awkward kid, and I often got shut down, and so that sort of brought this idea into my head that I was special, I guess. And again, like I was the only one who was allowed to hold this knowledge. No, it's just because I was a weird kid. Like there was nothing inherently bad or cringy about me enjoying this game and wanting to talk about it. But again, it sort of drove home this feeling of almost religious. I don't want to use like religious as like a term here, but it's the only word I can really think of. But it's definitely a view I've changed on now. I don't view this game as something that should be held back, and I no longer feel like I have to shut up about it because other people don't care. Clearly, other people care. There's whole communities that still play this game. There's wonderful friends that I have now that will gladly let me ramble on about the game. It was just unfortunate circumstances that led me to feel isolated about it. Now, okay, quick break. There is a side objective for expert difficulty. Obviously, I'm playing on hard, so it's not gonna matter to us, but I also want to do it. You turn off the portal using the elemental arrows. that you've gathered. So the water puts out the fire. I think the fire is supposed to put out the water. Yep. Moss puts out gas. Gas puts out the earth. So you use the opposites against each other. That closes the portal. Now, knock both of them out. But yeah, see, when I was younger, I kind of viewed it as a badge of honor of kind of holding the game back from people. Of, you know, oh, this is a unique experience, and clearly nobody else wants to hear about it, so it's all mine, all mine. But not anymore. Now I'm making this series here to show it off, and I want people to see it and enjoy it. And understand. Oh boy, that's the wrong arrow. Understand the reasons why I love it so much. And I shouldn't have viewed it as something to. Well, again, I'm trying to think of the word. I almost fetishized, I guess. That's the word I want to use. I almost fetishized the fact that I was the only one who had the experience of playing this game. So, on one hand, yes, you know, individual unique experiences are good, but I took it to the wrong direction. And that was detrimental, I think, to the way I viewed this game. And so I sort of saw playing this game as something that you should only enjoy alone. But now I really want to show this game off. I have shown this game off. I want people to experience this little bit of gaming history. And I think the fact that the studio folded, and that made me feel like, oh, I'm one of the few people that are holding on to it, and that sort of made me close it off. But it should be the opposite. I want to show it off to make sure that the legacy of this game, the legacy of this game, just never dies. It obviously never will, because of how instrumental the game is. It hugely influenced games like Deus Ex and Dishonored. The creators of System Shock went on to make BioShock. There's just so many games that have Looking Glass Studios alumni in their studio members. So it's not gonna ever die. There's never gonna be a point where this game is ever truly forgotten. But I shouldn't have thought earlier in my life that I should have held this game back from people. And I'm as all my friends know, I'm more than happy at the drop of a hat to talk about this game. I've done a complete 180. I fully love talking about this game. And even though, sure, it'll never die, that doesn't mean that you still can't share it with everybody and let everybody know about it. And I think there's a lot of cool stuff that this game, it didn't necessarily invent. It didn't invent the idea of environmental storytelling. I feel like Half-Life 1 was probably more popular in terms of inventing, quote-unquote, inventing that. That's definitely a more memorable game in terms of creating the idea of I mean, obviously this game does have cutscenes, but sort of in-game cutscenes don't, you never have your what's the word I'm looking for? Your control is never taken away from you while you're playing the game, just like in Half-Life. I'm going to put my thoughts on hold while this guy fails his Fails his ritual. Come on, you doofus. Yes. Aha, you have died. There's no reason to do this, I just want to blow up his butt. Stats, 21 minutes, not too terrible. Yeah, it's a very straightforward linear mission. Just seeing the sights and sounds of the crazy stuff that the developers and level designers wanted to make. So not huge on the stealthing, not huge on the stealing aspect. Definitely more leading into the action-adventure stuff. But as I was saying, like this game was instrumental, but it was not necessarily a creator of a whole lot. It did not invent the idea of environmental storytelling. It did not invent the idea of keeping player control during cutscenes. Obviously, this game does have its own cutscenes, but like in game, while you're in game, your control is never taken away from you, and that's not really a new idea. Again, Half-Life, had that as one of its primary mantras. The only time Half-Life ever did that was when they, spoilers for that game, but when the soldiers ambush you. That's the only time that your player agency is taken away. Otherwise, you're fully in control. And that this game does it too. Like I cannot think of a single moment in game where your control is taken away. And I think the only thing it didn't invent, but it really put into the forefront of people's minds the idea of combining stealth in terms of not just line of sight, but also light and dark, and also sound. There had been obviously plenty of games that had line of sight detection mechanics. I mean, Doom and Wolfenstein, those aren't stealth games, but you could still technically sneak up on enemies if they were facing away from you. Light and sound, for early 3D games, I believe Thief is using a modified Quake engine. I'm sure that was attempted a few times, but not to the extent of this game, to all the to the level of what Thief does, I should say. And the sound design, making sure that proper 3D positional sound was put to the forefront of stealth, and not brushed aside. And unfortunately, there are modern stealth games that kind of brush sound under the rug as a form of detection in stealth, not just for the player, but also for not just against the player in terms of you making sound, but for the player in terms of enemies making sound. Because you heard throughout the game, like, enemies have very loud footsteps for the most part. Spiders obviously are a rare example of them being very stealthy, which is what makes them dangerous, because their footsteps are very quiet. But enemies have loud footsteps. Enemies will hum and clear their throat and talk to each other and talk to themselves. So you always know when an enemy is coming before you even see them. And there are modern stealth games that don't even do that, where you don't even hear the enemy half the time. You barely hear their footsteps. You barely hear them talk, and which is really unfortunate. It's one of the reasons why the 2014 Thief reboot was not well received at all by fans, because it just took the whole idea of sound and just completely brushed it under the rug. It was just basically just purely light and dark as binary states. You were either in shadow or you weren't. There was no sort of sliding scale like this game does, and there was just vision-based stealth. That was it. There was little reason to focus on your footsteps. It was also kind of binary. It was like, oh, you're crouch walking, you're completely silent. You're running, you're making noise. That's it. There was no, oh, I can run on this surface and be fine, or I can make a quick dash over here and probably be fine. Again, it was unfortunate they got rid of one of the really core ideas that Thief put on the. It didn't invent these ideas, but definitely revolutionized the idea of making it the forefront of a game's mechanics. I feel like the only other games up until this point that had put sound as the primary mechanic of a game would probably be like rhythm games like Dance Dance Revolution, and that doesn't really count, I think. But it's like this game has just an amazing legacy that it left behind. It was not your typical fantasy, and I know there are a lot of fantasy games that try to be like, oh, this is not your typical fantasy, but it still feels kind of typical in a way. Like I feel like the only games that really stick out in terms of not your typical fantasy would be like something like I just say probably early Elder Scrolls definitely feel a lot more like Morrowind, for example, definitely feels a lot more alien and weird in terms of fantasy than, say, Oblivion, which feels a lot more classical standard fantasy. A lot of games that do fantasy, they don't always feel super unique, unfortunately, which is a shame. And I'm not going to say that I know the secret to making original fantasy, but this game definitely stands out from the crowd, not just because of its more steampunk and industrialized and gas lamp fantasy influences, but also just the way it handles stuff like magic and whatnot. You have these elemental forces that mages and that the trickster use. We read these books about different plants and rocks and crystals and whatnot. There are these other relics of power that the trickster had, I guess, that he had been collecting, and it's only the eye that we went after. A relic of power that was apparently, from what we can tell from the endgame lore, it was the eye that was able to corrupt the minds of people and make people start coming back from the dead and whatnot, and cause the nightmares to come to life, probably in a very literal way, with the cathedral. There obviously was sort of a push and pull, I think, in terms of creating this game in a way that makes it nice for outsiders, because it wants to start in a more toned down version of itself. You start in a you have the training mission, which is like, okay, obstacle course, running around, here's a guard, you do sword fighting, here's a bow. Okay, this feels pretty typical. First mission, the weirdest thing is street lamps, like electric street lamps, and that's it, right? And then it quickly starts, almost like a pendulum, starts going very quickly back and forth. You have, Crag's Cleft Prison, which goes a little bit more into the weirdness of the fantasy. Okay, here's this Hammerite Order, here's the undead, here's a society that has sort of multiple versions of law enforcement that don't seem to. I mean, I'm sure they do butt heads with one another, but the fact that the Hammerites can grab people off the streets and the regular city watch can't really do much about it. It's like, you know, it's like, imagine if in the real world there were multiple police forces, multiple militia groups that all acted independent of one another and didn't get on each other's turf. It's almost like they're all different mafia groups or different gangs that don't want to interrupt each other's gang activity without starting a big war. And then we see that again in Assassins and in the Thieves Guild. We're introduced to this underworld, this underbelly of the city. And then again, the pendulum just keeps going back and forth. We have the Mage Tower, which is introducing us to, unfortunately, society that we only ever see once, and I think we briefly hear about it maybe once or twice in the other two games. The Hand Brotherhood. It's like, okay, there's mages, there's proper magic users. There's the Lost City, which you know, it's a little more grounded, I would say. The concept of an ancient civilization, a precursor city, isn't too far-fetched, I think, for most fantasy. And the enemies you have there are, you know, fire elementals. That elementals are a pretty standard fantasy thing. And then you go back to the cathedral, you know, later on, and it gets right back into the weirdness of you know, okay, we have ghosts, we have you know, haunted undead, we have like reading these last, you know, notes of the Hammerites there, and seeing their faith being shaken to the core by their brethren coming back to life to kill them, and you know, it's definitely a very dark turn, not necessarily too far out there again in terms of fantasy, but I feel like that there was a pretty, you know, kind of a dark concept for a game. Just there is something kind of harrowing about reading some of these books and scrolls of, you know, people struggling against the attackers of the cathedral at the very end, and it makes it a little horrifying to think about when you're killing the zombies and haunts in there. Like, you know, they probably were at one point. Obviously, they were all living people at one point, and it's like they were all doing their best to protect this place, and now they're protecting it again, but in a cruel and twisted and perverted way. It's sort of forever doomed to protect the halls of the cathedral, whether their master was the builder or the Eye. And by killing them, you're still forever entombing them within the walls, which, at least to me, just is kind of, ooh. Maybe that's just me, but again, one of the reasons why it was hard to sort of market. One of the reasons why it was a little difficult for people to get into it was because of the sort of tone shifts, because of it was definitely less focused on thievery than it should have been. The more action-adventure levels sort of stick out a lot more. They're definitely memorable, but missions like Assassins and Song of the Caverns are, I think, very good at making like very raw thievery experiences, whereas something like the Lost City is hard, like, or the first cathedral mission where you're going to it and you don't actually go in there, hard to sell as stealth, I would say. It's like action adventure with stealth mechanics, rather than a true stealth game, I would say. So the definitely the tone shifts were an issue, but at its core, you had a dark fantasy with a unique, for the time, a unique steampunk gaslamp fantasy experience, and even with the frequent tone shifts and pendulum swinging back and forth in terms of how weird it was getting, I think for the most part each level was adding a new layer of lore, a new set of thoughts to pick at in your brain about how this world works. Again, it's the fact that it's just called the city. It has no official name. We don't know who the Baron is named, or who the Baron is called. I don't think. He's just called the Baron, and he's away at some sort of war. So in his absence, these crime lords and crime wardens are in charge of the city, probably in an unofficial capacity. The fact that the lore is, as I think I've mentioned it before in a previous mission, the lore is just detailed enough, but just vague enough to leave some of your questions unanswered, but in a somewhat satisfying way, where you're encouraged to come up with your own ideas. And it's why the community has made so many fan missions of expanding the canon and exploring the canon, and taking like very little things, like a brief mention of a single character in one mission, and making an entire fan mission based around that. And it's like, that technically fits because it's something so inconsequential, and the fans can just run with it and make something that makes sense within the fiction of the world. And so I think obviously it's important to have, really detailed, what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost like a Bible for your world, of detailing every last little thing, of writing down the full history of the world and details up the wazoo, like Silmarillion levels of detail. But it seems that for this game, all the detail you have on the world is from Garrett's perspective. You never really learn anything that would be outside of his perspective. You can't simply go to a wiki, and there is a wiki for this game. You can't go to a wiki and look stuff up for this game and find anything that would not be able to be found in game. Because there are some games out there that make these full, again, like a full Bible for their game, and sometimes publish it, and now you have information about the world that you can't experience in the game. And I understand the urge to do that, obviously, but I think it makes it so much more immersive. The fact that you're experiencing this world, you're experiencing the weirdness along with Garrett, and he mentions it himself. He mentions these things of I don't know what happened in the old quarter with the walled off sector, something about zombies, I guess. You have to go in there yourself and confirm, oh, there's a lot of zombies in here. So it's like this game is simultaneously not unique, but also incredibly unique. It did not really invent anything new for the most part. It did not necessarily create the idea of a dark fantasy. It definitely didn't create the idea of a dark fantasy, especially not a dark fantasy game. It did not create the idea of stealth. It did not create the idea of an anti-hero character. But they dared to make it anyways in a world where the primary game that people were playing was run and gun, or run and jump, I guess. But this game made you slow down, in terms of trying to think and whatnot, but without being a puzzle game. Because you think of slow down and think, you think of usually puzzle games, or maybe tactical, like strategy games, Civilization, or Total War games, or something like that. Those are definitely slow down and think. But this instead was like, no, you can't pause. I mean, you can't pause, but you can't, like, like in a strategy game, you can sort of pause time and then put out your orders, and then unpause time and have it. No, you do everything in real time, but you need to balance, like, pausing and thinking with action, and your actions have to be precise. They need to be they need to work within the mechanics of the game, of the stealth and the fact that your character isn't a tank. So having a plan of, I'm going to run in there and kill everybody, probably not going to work very well unless you plan around that of okay, I'm going to put landmines in the room and soften them up with arrows, and flash bomb them, and then run in and start hacking away at them. So even the more action oriented plans that you have to be well thought out, which is, again, not super new even at the time, but it still managed to be an incredibly unique game, and to this day it really feels like there's nothing like this to this day. Nowadays, games that are darker fantasy can kind of feel a little samey at times. Games that are stealth-based can feel a little samey at times. Games that are trying to mix fantasy and steampunk can feel a little samey at times. And I don't mean that in terms of shared tropes. There's nothing wrong with shared tropes. I mean, there's no such thing as originality. But the influences that formed Thief probably weren't really seen in games beforehand. And now that Thief has influenced other games, it's hard to feel as original as these early Thief games, if that makes sense. You play Thief in 1998, 1999, you have no frame of reference for the most part. You play Dishonored in what was that, 2012-ish, I think. Your frame of reference is probably, oh, it's like Thief, So it was unique because most people just didn't have that frame of reference, and so it stuck with them, which is why it had such a huge legacy. Same with Deus Ex. People didn't really have a immersive first-person action stealth shooter game experience like that ever before, and now they're just a handful of games like that out there, and this game definitely was in that era of not creating unique things, like purely, truly unique and original, but still feeling that way. This game did not invent anything new, but it felt fresh, it felt new, it felt amazing. It still does to me to this day, and it's the reason why I still play it, because no matter how many times I play it, it still feels so freaking different from everything else nowadays. Even the Elder Scrolls, it's like Morrowind was kind of on the very end of that sort of era of not creating anything new but still feeling super unique. So it's like wow, this is amazing. And then you play Oblivion and Skyrim, which are good games, but they just feel kind of samey. They feel kind of trite and overdone. So I think we're past that sort of era of everything feels kind of new and shiny. This game was right in that golden age, I feel. And playing these missions again on video, it's felt so amazing. There's just something so magical to me about playing it, and it's influenced the way I view just world building in general and storytelling. Again, the idea that your character does not know more than what they would have ever learned. You don't know more about any more about the keepers than Garrett does in this game. Like you still can't truly put a pin on who they are and what they're doing in this game. It's only through the entire trilogy of Thief Gold, Thief 2: The Metal Age, and Thief 3, or just Thief Deadly Shadows, that you can piece together what their role is in the world. But until then, like they're still just as mysterious to you as they are kind of to Garrett. And that's the thing, like Garrett briefly was a keeper, and he doesn't let on the stuff that he learned from them to you, the player. So he's almost, in a way, being an unreliable narrator. He's like, yeah, I trained with them and then I left. In fact, he didn't even say that. It's an opening cutscene that says in vague terms, it's like our most promising acolyte left us, or something like that, for the cutscene of Lord Bafford's Manor. So even he doesn't say, I left the keepers. I think it's interesting that you have to trust the word, the experiences of a person who doesn't even let on the fact that they split from the keepers. So you have an unreliable narrator. You have you have a world where you don't know more than the character. You have a world where you have these. I'm trying to think of the word. It's like you have this idea of a grander and larger world, but it doesn't really matter to you, the player, because that's not important to you. You don't need to know about the fact that there's some, far off continent on the other side of this world that you only read about in a couple of books. Like, I know, like, for example, let's say Mass Effect, that those games are full of lore entries and codex entries and whatnot for stuff that you only read about, and then you never experience. You gain that information, and for not a whole lot of a reason. Now, obviously, it makes sense that in a future world they would have books and codex entries on that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's improper to have encyclopedic knowledge of a universe with hundreds and hundreds of histories of all these different people. I'm just saying, like what's the point of having an entire section of your game, an entire menu option dedicated to the codex, to the lore of the world, if you can't experience it firsthand? It's like the perspective of the player, the perspective of the main characters, is going to be the most important perspective in my eyes. And creating lore outside of that perspective is not really going to help your appreciation of the game, in my opinion. Reading about something that has zero impact on the game mechanics, on the game story, on the characters' backstories, it just feels like you're adding the game with information to make it feel more full, to make it feel more like it is supposed to be alive, but it's not, because it's words on a screen. In games where you have to experience these things to learn about them, where it's not just words on a screen, but you get to interact with it, that's a lot more important to a player, because they're going to have an active role in it. Take something like The Elder Scrolls Online, kind of an average-ish MMO, but the fact that you can travel all across Tamriel and experience all the different cultures of the world and help them do all their different little things, that's far more useful in terms of lore than reading books and codex entries and wiki pages and whatnot, because you have a direct interaction with it, you have a direct emotional connection. And so with Thief, like, you have no direct emotional connection to the Baron and whatever war he's off fighting, because you don't care. Garrett doesn't care, and you shouldn't care either. It has no effect on the fact that you're going to be going in and robbing somebody's place. I'm not, and now I don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't care at all about lore and that you shouldn't have any lore whatsoever outside of the player experience. I think you should still write it down, but then weave it into the story. Having lore written down when creating something, when creating a world, even if it doesn't end up in the story, it'll help you understand character motivations. For example, let's say like the crime wardens in the city. Their motivation is probably going to be influenced by the fact that the Baron has gone off fighting his war, which we only hear about in like one or two conversations offhandedly in this game. And in his absence, these crime wardens and semi-legitimate lords have seized power over the city, over the various districts. And if we didn't know anything about the Baron, if we had no idea there was a Baron and there was no war, then it would feel a little more empty. But by adding in that little bit of information, I feel like it implies, okay, here's a power vacuum, and in his absence, these people are vying for control in semi-legitimate ways. You know, they're skirting around the law, they're doing underhanded tactics, they're trying to make it seem like it's all above board. You know, they're cooking the books, they're bribing officials, you know, so that if the Baron ever does come back, you know, they can be like, no, we didn't do anything. See, it's all legitimate. We have the papers that definitely weren't forged, you know. So it's not perfect. It's not crazy anarchy everywhere. But it kind of gives you a little bit of insight, I feel, into the motivations of characters, even if you never directly interact with it. I'm sure the creators of the game and the creators of the story did have a lot more written down in terms of who the Baron is supposed to be, what the war is supposed to be, but only put in what you, the player, what Garrett would know, and what you, the player, and what Garrett would care about. It doesn't matter that the Baron is gone, per se. It matters more that there are people vying for power in a power vacuum. So, yes, you should have, you know, you shouldn't have to make up lore on the spot. You should have a well fleshed out world. But don't take the stuff that you wrote down and shoehorn it in a way to justify the fact that you wrote it all down, is what I'm saying. So again, that's one of the reasons why this game feels vague but also detailed, which sounds like an oxymoron, sounds like a juxtaposition, but it's vague in terms of it's being viewed through the eyes of a single person who is possibly an unreliable narrator, but it's detailed in the fact that all the stuff you're reading is canonical. All the little scraps of notes, all the books and scrolls, they give you insight, but not the whole story. It's detailed, but it's you're seeing the trees and not the forest, and you can try to guess at the size of the forest. You can try to guess what other types of trees are in the forest, but if you're stuck in a small little grove and you can only see a couple of trees, you're going to learn those trees really well. Though the Thief Wiki is really, really detailed, and all the sources, all the annotations are from stuff in the game. There's literally nothing. I shouldn't say literally nothing. There's a couple things that are based on like concept art or something like that, but I think one or two things are based on like employee interviews and whatnot. But like I'd say 99% of the stuff on the wiki is based entirely on stuff that you can read and interact with in the game itself. You could play the Thief games and make your own wiki yourself with just the same amount of information, I would say. So it's vague enough that you can try to fill the gaps and try to figure out what the hell is going on, but specific enough that you don't. I never feel lost. I never feel like I'm making too much guesswork as to what's going on in terms of things that are important. I obviously have to make a lot of guesswork for the war and the Baron and whatnot, or a lot of guesswork on what's outside of the city. But how important is that to somebody who's going to be robbing a house in a city? Who cares? A plumber is not going to learn international politics because that's not important to him. So why would a thief learn, in this case, international politics, if he's just going to be breaking into people's houses? So I feel like I'm rambling and on a lot and hammering the same ideas over and over. But I guess to finish it all up, just hugely influential to me growing up. It felt so unique. Somewhat detrimentally, as I said, growing up, but then I've changed my tone. I feel like I want to share this experience with people. I want to talk to people about it. I want to have people understand why I love it so much, and not sort of close it off to people and be like, no, it's mine. This is unique to me. Like, no, this is something that people should experience and should love. I don't want to keep it anymore like I was when I was younger. And a lot of the world building that I do, the stories that I write, even the non-fantasy stories, still definitely have influence from these games. There's no way around it. I mean, if the first game you ever play when you're 2 to 3 years old is this game, that's obviously going to be tucked away in your brain for the rest of your life. So yeah, hugely influential, not just to me, but to the world of gaming. Unique, but also not unique. Oxymoronic, I know, but changed the face of gaming, and left an impact that will never be forgotten. And even if it won't be forgotten, I still want to make sure that more and more people hear about it. There's no downside in having more people learn about a game that's so wonderful. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this game, both good and bad. But this was the final mission. We defeated Constantine. We defeated the Trickster. There is one mission after that, and I think I'm going to bundle it in with this video. Let's watch the final cutscene, and I think the next. I think I have it correct in the files to make the next mission work, but let's keep going.
So you think you've won?
I think I got my eye back.
Yet still, you are blind.
If you hadn't noticed, I just saved the world, yourself included.
As we knew you would, as it had to be.
Now I remember why I left the Keepers.
And I remember why we let you go.
What do you want from me? Have you come to congratulate me? Welcome me back to the fold?
Very well. I will speak my piece plainly. You have accomplished that which was written, and yes, you've done it well. But there is no place for you with us any longer. Yet you will have a great need of us, and soon.
I don't think so. I'm through with heroics. And with your kind as well.
You cannot run from life as you did from us, Garrett. Life has a way of finding you, no matter how artistic a sneak you are. Listen, there is a book that you were not made aware of. I am here to tell you that it would be wise for you to read it now, if you can still read hieroglyphs.
I do try to forget, but you Keepers leave them everywhere for me.
Yes, you have more friends than you know.
Tell my friends that I don't need their secret book, or their glyph warnings, or their messengers. Tell them I'm through. Tell them it's over. Tell them Garrett is done.
I will tell them this. Nothing has changed. All is as it was written. The trickster is dead. Beware the dawn of the Metal Age.
Oh, so it didn't load in the thing as I thought it would, but there you go. There's the ending cutscene for you. You can see that Garrett did not get his eye back in a literal sense. You can see he had a new mechanical eye, and hinting at a dawn of a Metal Age. That's the second game, Thief 2: The Metal Age. Like they very quickly continued the story in the second game, and you know the idea of a hero saying, "I'm done being a hero." It's like you were never truly a hero in the first. You're definitely an anti-hero. You were pulled into this against your wishes, but definitely a cliffhanger there, to be sure. I'm gonna pause the recording real quick and see if I can get the thing I wanted to show you, the special after mission, to work correctly. So give me one moment. Okay, I'm back. I got it working, and I wanted to include this in this final video for Thief Gold. I thought about having it as its own little thing, but I thought after all the stuff I've been talking about, I just personally think it makes more sense to have it included at the end here. After I've been waxing poetic and whatnot, and rambling on, I wanted to show off the Easter egg in this game. You can only get it if you fiddle around with the game files. Not super difficult. It's just some editing some text files. It's not like you're breaking into the game code or anything like that. But let's skip the training. We're starting a new game, and let's just skip the training and see what happens.
I have a simple job planned for this evening. Break into a guarded mansion, steal another fat nobleman's priceless trinket, and leave quietly. Lord Bafford is out of town, and rumor has it that the captain of his house guard went with him as a bodyguard. The time is ripe for a bit of burglary. The front gate of Lord Bafford's manor is always guarded, and the main street is far too exposed. But Cuddy tells me there's a better way in, around to the side, more out of the way. One guard, and likely no witnesses to complicate matters. The piece Cuddy wants is a scepter, silver, jewels, the usual adornments. It should command a high price. Bafford, like most of his kind, probably keeps his treasures on the top floor of the place, close to his heart, and far from his servants. No point in waiting. I have Cuddy's old sketches of the place, and everyone who's going to be asleep inside already is. It's time to begin.
Welcome to the blooper reel. Explore the level and see some of the things that cropped up as bugs during the production of Thief, and some others that existed only in our rather twisted imaginations. And just when we're done, just press the button in the main entrance. No real difference between difficulties. Let's play on normal. Whatever. Grab a health potion. Grab a single water arrow and let's go. Yes. So this is the wonderful little classic conversation. So yeah, T-posing guards, some cute little frogs walking along, and I don't know if you might be able to hear it, but the person whistling into the microphone to make a fake wind sound. The map still seems to be the same, but let's see. What's this plaque say? This is Jorge, our default texture. We made it as eye-catching as possible to keep us from accidentally shipping anything colored this way. Yes, so as anybody who's ever used the level editor knows, this is the default texture that they put on all terrain. Yeah, it's very noticeable. Anytime you accidentally leave it in, it's glaringly obvious. It actually is kind of useful because the texture, because of the squares, the grid pattern, it's actually easy to like measure things out with it. Sort of like if you've ever done stuff with the source engine, the default texture is that like pink and black grid. It's like that, like how, because it's a grid, you can measure stuff with it. So even when it's a default texture, you can still be like, okay, that's the size of one, tile or one thing, This is no place for you. Okay, they've blocked off the city streets for the most part. Everything you need to see is within the mansion. Here's Bafford, of course. Perfect. It's too much of a pansy to fight me, huh? Dies in one hit. Here are some zombies dancing the Thriller. can kind of get up close and see them. Yeah, they're really, really creepy. Don't worry, he keeps dancing. Of course, now they're all out of sync, but... oh yeah, there's the button here. It says, don't press this button. That ends the mission. So, yes, we won't be pressing it. Nothing crazy in here. They're... Oh. Okay. That's different. Just sketching over it in MS Paint. I love that. I love the fact that they probably just got the people who were like not artists. Oh boy, sorry, I just have a big dumb smile on my face right now. It's wonderful to see these little... You okay there, buddy? What does this say? Getting the correct buoyancy for the player in water took some work. Initial values cause players to sink like rocks or bob like corks.
Hey, you!
Oh. They aren't kidding. I'm literally bobbing like a cork. Ow. Ow. I'm gonna get out. Oh, Jesus. I had to restart the mission because I... Okay. Let's try that again.
I'm going to the bear pit today.
Yes, yes. He's shooting apples at me. Okay. So yes, water buoyancy. That's a... Is he getting damaged by the torch every time he walks by it? Pretty funny.
Strange noise.
Yeah, so he's sunk like a rock in there.
Just surrender now.
I wonder if the other NPCs... Yeah, I literally think he's just getting damaged by the torch every time he walks by it.
To me! Cover me!
Uh-oh. Hey there. Tiny little man. That's horrifying to behold. Can't seem to pick him up. What's back here? Anything back here? No, they closed off. No, they didn't close it off. Okay. Ooh, what's this? The implementation of gas-belching burricks ran into some trouble at first. No launch velocity and a failure to specify which joint the gas emitted from quickly led to the creatures farting to death. Oh man. Yeah, they're just really throwing it back at me. Okay, just let them gas themselves up into a corner.
Help! Don't let him get me!
What? You doing kung fu at me? Ow. Jerk. Alright, I'll do kung fu at you. Oh, I killed him. Well, that took care of that. So we have gassy bullocks, water buoyancy issues. Let's see what else is in store for us. Let's see. Anything over here? No, we've already been there. Nothing back here. No guard on that side. Because we go upstairs now. Oh, that's wrong stairs. I knew that. This side should have stairs. Ooh, food. Thank you. Where are the stairs up? Hello, Jorge. This one should have stairs up. Yes, there we go. Trying to get your friend Cuddy from Cragsclef to lie on the ground took more programmer and designer hours than you would believe, and it still never worked. Hours before the final shipping build, we gave up and made him stand. Well, now he's lying on the floor. To think that even back in 1998, 1999, they had trouble getting people just lying down on the ground. I just want to see if they actually do bob like a cork. Yep. Get him to... Yeah, really launch him. There we go. That's what I like to see. Wait a second, is that a... Oh, that was just a sword. I thought... I'm seeing things. I apologize. Lord Bafford's manor sure does look different when it's, a blooper reel. Dancing zombie right there, okay. Hello, fire elemental. Whoa! Yeah, look out, mimics. This is terrifying to behold. Oh, how many flash bombs? These chests seem to have a lot of hit points. And again, it's a wooden chest that's trying to act like one of the scorpion beasts, so... Figures they're tough bastards to kill. I don't know how it's parrying my attacks, but... Can't pick them up either. I like that there isn't even a bug associated with that. It's just, hey, what if we did this? Oh, hello.
Since I'm in here, I might as well pick up something for myself.
A lot of drunk guards. Oh, these are corpses. Oh, Jesus. They partied hard, huh? Can I help you? Now that's a death animation. Can I pick him up? Yes, I can. Into the fire you go. Oh. You fell over? Okay. Will he fall over? I wonder if they eventually fall over. Oh, yep, there we go. Well then. That death animation definitely threw me for a loop. Anything over here? No, doesn't look like it. Oh, is that a diving board up there? Hell yes. Whee! And then quick load to get back up there. So I don't have to walk all the way back up. What's this do? Oh, oh, fireworks. Nice. I love fireworks. This is... Oh, this is where we found... Yeah, this is, Cuddy. Or where he was before we... Give him the old 1-2. Is this any different? Oh, it's calling me a Taffer. Gas arrow. Some projectiles, when given 0 launch velocity, are odder than others. That's, I guess because the gas arrows don't have like, what's the word I'm looking for? Gravity. They just don't fall and don't move because they're just gonna lay there still. Then how are you guys? Get back to dancing. Or not. Let's go to the other area. Okay. Fine then. Keep your secrets. Jump to see a bug we accidentally shipped with. Yep. This is not in the version with New Dark and T-Fix, I don't think. I think that's fixed. But yep, they shipped it with a big old glaring hole in the ceiling. Oh, hell yeah, basketball. Okay. Damn. Okay. Oh, come back. Let me make this shot. Damn, okay. Whoa. Fine by me. Yeah, I need to make this shot. Come on, okay. There. Oh, almost. Okay. Square it up. And here. Nope. I like that when it hits the gong, it actually does make a gong sound. Ah, I'm just terrible at sports.
It's a throne room. How pretentious can you get?
Wanted thief for the theft of the gems of Sarnoth. Had our renderer been able to manage mirrors, thief players might have been startled to find that Garrett's image wasn't as impressive as the box cover art. Yep, that's a little bit of trivia that I love. Garrett is in fact a cardboard box in the game with a smiley face drawn on, but you can't actually see it because there's no first-person model and there's no mirrors. So, yep, that's probably why everybody's so surprised to see him. Because, yep, just a cardboard box. Our final design for the bug beast facing off against the original concept for the creature. Oh, that's terrifying. Whoa, okay. That is definitely terrifying to behold. No, don't come towards me. I hate that. Another key. Yep, just another key. That... Oh, it's got like titties and... Oh, no. I hate that. I'm so glad they went with the praying mantis look. Brickhead. Got it. Anything up here? No. Oh, this is the door that refuses to open. Now, what was over here? The default weight from any objects was 30 pounds. However, if the heat disk for a fire arrow, which makes the circular warping effect, had that weight, it would often bounce off your chest and knock you across the room or even kill you. Alright. See it. Try launching it at a... Oh. Which I could have properly appreciated the bug for that. Hello, Jorge. So yes, some wonderful little goofs and gaffs. Always a delight to see that they put time and resources into showing off their mistakes. Because like blooper reels for proper film. It's like, oh, that film is expensive. Whoa, chill. It shouldn't go to waste, you know. So let's make a blooper reel so we didn't waste that film and can give people a laugh. But like for a video game, how do you justify putting time and resources into adding more stuff into a game. And just gonna take up, you know, a bunch of memory on the computer, a bunch of disk space. But yes, a very short and sweet blooper reel. Can you knock these things out? Yes, you can. Okay. Just wanted to check. But yes, that's all I wanted to show off was the oh, chill out. The little silly little bloopers. I think it's shows a lot of insight into how difficult it can actually be to make a game. They seem to be slowly traveling, so their animation is slowly shifting them, which is interesting. But let's go press that button. It's good to see that the developers had a sense of humor. Yay! Mission complete. That was a real mission. Got all the loot. Nice. Obviously, we went for a 100% loot run. But yes, that was Thief Gold, including the blooper reel Easter egg at the end. I think I've said all that I can really say. I don't want to go over any points that I've already went over. I don't want to. Yeah, no point in driving things home ad nauseum. You guys get the point, I think. I think without this game, a lot of things wouldn't exist. A lot of things wouldn't have come to light in terms of game design and game mechanics. Not because this game invented them, but because this game married them all together in a way that felt wonderful. As I said, the people in Looking Glass Studios went on to make amazing things. You had System Shock 2, you had the BioShock series, you had Dishonored, you had Deus Ex. They influenced so many different things. It's impossible to truly appreciate the ripple, the impact that they had. And even though, one little raindrop is hard to notice in a storm, that ripple is still going to be enough to, break that surface tension and make all that water come rushing out. So one little raindrop and the floodgates broke open and a whole new genre of immersive sim of stealth games exploded. And this game is so near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much for joining me here. I loved replaying this game again. I think the only time I will stop replaying this game is when I'm completely unable to use a computer. I think that'll be the point. I don't think that as long as I have control of my body and a working computer with Thief installed on it, I'm don't think there'll ever be a point where I'm not playing it and where it's not something I'm going to boot up and put back under the microscope and examine as to why I love it so much. It really did make me feel like I was doing something unique and wonderful, and like I was experiencing something that nobody else was. And I really hope that you guys can appreciate the game the same way I did. And I hope you all go to purchase it yourself. Even just watching a Let's Play is not the same. It's really not the same as experiencing it for yourself. And there's a huge community out there as well, still dedicated to the game 2 decades later. So even if you're like, well, you know, the gameplay looks fun, but I've already, seen you play it, so what's the point of playing the game myself? Well, there's tons of fan missions out there, and fan campaigns, and fan-made content out there. Fan missions that people have made that definitely rival that of and not just rival, but surpass the quality of the original games, because of the T-Fix and New Dark patches. They've been able to not just revive the engine, but stretch it beyond its limits, and they can create visuals and levels that are truly, absolutely stunning and detailed and amazing, and just so full of passion. I might play some fan missions on this channel as well, just to show off some of my favorites. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I apologize for this one being a little bit long, but because it's the final mission plus the little blooper reel, I wanted to show off the reasons why this game is so important to me, and talk more about all that kind of stuff. So thank you for sticking with it. And after this, we're going to move right on to Thief 2, and then Thief Deadly Shadows after that. After that, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to play next. I have various other games that are important to me, various other games from my childhood that I played a lot. I'll figure out which ones I'll want to play. That's far off in the future. For now, look, I hope you're looking forward to Thief 2. I certainly am. I think it's the best one of the series. But I won't go into too much on about Thief 2. I'll say that for the Thief 2 videos. We'll just focus on Thief Gold in this series here. So thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.